I remember the day my parent entrusted me with the estate. It wasn't just a house. It was a living story, a testament to generations. Every brick, every tree held a memory. I promised them I would protect it, keep its spirit alive. It was more than a duty. It was my heart's commitment. I had put my own dreams aside for this sacred trust, feeling a deep sense of purpose. When my parent passed, a heavy quiet fell over the house. Their will named me as the sole steward of the estate. I felt the weight of it, a mix of grief and solemn purpose. But I also felt Mara's eyes on me, sharp and cold. Her resentment was a palpable thing, a chill in the air that promised trouble. I knew then that this would not be easy, not with her watching. At first, it was subtle. A leaky faucet left unrepaired for weeks, a patch of roof tiles ignored after a storm. I would point these things out, but Mara would just shrug, claiming she'd get to it eventually. Small things, yes, but they felt like tiny cuts, each one a deliberate disregard for the home's needs. I started to feel a growing unease, a sense that something was deeply wrong. Then I noticed the empty space above the fireplace. The family portrait, a painting of our great-grandmother, was gone. My heart pounded. I confronted Mara, my voice trembling. She looked at me with an unnervingly calm expression. "Oh, that old thing," she said. "I sold it. Needed the money for the house, you know, upkeep." Her words felt like a slap, a lie delivered with a smile. I knew it wasn't true. A few weeks later, the grand antique secretary desk from the study vanished. This was no small item. It held generations of family letters. I hadn't been consulted, hadn't even known it was for sale. When I asked Mara, she claimed it was for urgent repairs to the foundation. But I hadn't seen any repairs, only more neglect. The pattern was becoming clear, and it chilled me to the bone. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I confronted Mara in the drawing room, my voice rising with every question. "Why are you doing this? Why are you selling off our history?" She just looked at me, her eyes flat. "You're too sentimental, Alara," she said, her tone dismissive. "It's just stuff. You're obsessed." Her words twisted a knife in my gut. She made me feel crazy for caring so deeply. The garden had always been my parents' pride, a riot of color and life. Now, weeds choked the flower beds, and dead branches lay scattered. One morning, I found a statue overturned, its delicate features chipped. It wasn't just neglect. It felt like deliberate vandalism. The garden, once a symbol of our vibrant family life, was slowly dying, reflecting the decay within our home's spirit. I found it in the old conservatory. A section of the original stained glass window, a unique family crest, had been replaced with plain, cheap glass. It was a deliberate defacement, a desecration of our heritage. This wasn't about money or upkeep. It was about erasing. A cold dread seeped into my bones. Mara wasn't just letting things go. She was actively destroying them, piece by piece. The truth hit me with the force of a physical blow. This wasn't just sibling rivalry or neglect. This was a systematic, calculated dismantling. Each missing heirloom, each act of destruction was designed to sever my connection to this place, to our past. Mara wasn't simply selling things. She was trying to erase me, erase our shared history, purely to inflict profound pain. My heart ached with this profound betrayal. "This is just the beginning, Alara," Mara had whispered to me, her voice soft but laced with venom. "I have bigger plans for this place." Her words sent a shiver down my spine. I didn't know what she meant, but the implication was clear, the complete obliteration of everything I held sacred. My family's legacy, my parents' memory, all of it was under threat. I was terrified, truly terrified. I felt a desperate need to act. The estate was crumbling, our history being erased. I sought out a lawyer, but the initial meeting was disheartening. The legal path was complex, and my power against Mara, who held the deed, felt so small. I remember the lawyer's words, "This will be an uphill battle, Alara." My stomach tightened with anxiety, but I knew I had to try. I wouldn't give up. I spent weeks, then months, documenting everything. I found old auction records, cross-referenced them with photographs of the estate before Mara took over. I took pictures of every broken window, every neglected corner. Each piece of evidence was a stab to my heart, proof of Mara's deliberate destruction. I felt a cold anger building inside me, fueling my resolve. Then came the final, crushing blow. My parents' antique music box, the one they played every evening, the one I had heard since childhood, was gone. I found a receipt tucked away for its sale. It wasn't just an object. It was the sound of their laughter, the comfort of their presence. I collapsed, the grief and betrayal overwhelming me. I felt like a part of my soul had been ripped away. My children, seeing my despair, looked at me with worried eyes, their small hands reaching for mine, confused by my sadness. After the music box, something in me snapped. I called Mara to the estate, carrying my meticulously organized folders. I laid out every piece of evidence, every photograph, every receipt. My voice was calm, but my hands trembled. Mara's face, usually so composed, finally cracked. Her eyes filled with a venomous rage. "You always were their favorite," she hissed. "Always the one who cared about this old pile of bricks. I just wanted to show you it meant nothing." Her words were a poison, revealing the true depth of her insidious jealousy. The confrontation wasn't private for long. News of the estate's destruction and Mara's role spread through our small community. Some family members rallied around me, shocked by Mara's actions, offering their support. Others, however, were swayed by Mara's twisted stories, her claims of my obsession and greed. The divide fractured our family further, and I saw the pain in my children's faces as they heard whispers, confused by the arguments and tension. I felt utterly exhausted, drained. The weight of it all pressed down on me, crushing my spirit. My ancestral home, the very fabric of my identity, felt like it was slipping through my fingers. I sat in the overgrown garden, staring at the chipped statue, wondering if there was any point in fighting anymore. I felt stripped bare, robbed of my past, and the future seemed bleak. The thought of giving up was a strong, tempting whisper, a desire for peace at any cost. But then, a quiet strength stirred within me. I looked at an old, gnarled oak tree my parent had planted, still standing tall despite everything. This wasn't just about property. It was about honoring their memory, about the truth of our heritage. I couldn't let Mara win, not completely. I decided I would fight, not just for the physical remnants, but for the vindication of my parents' love and the enduring spirit of our family. My resolve solidified. My resolve brought unexpected help. A local historian, passionate about our town's past, offered to testify about the estate's significance. A kind, sharp lawyer, hearing my story, took on my case, understanding the emotional weight of what I was fighting for. Together, we began to expose Mara's calculated malice, not just as property disputes, but as a systematic campaign of psychological warfare against me and our shared history. I felt a glimmer of hope. The public backlash against Mara was swift and harsh. People in town, who had once admired her, now looked at her with condemnation. The legal challenge began, a slow and painful process. Mara continued her emotional terrorism, sending threatening messages, trying to intimidate me. But I held firm. I knew the path to justice would be long and arduous, but I was no longer alone, and that gave me courage. The estate itself could not be fully restored, the losses were too great. But I had saved some pieces, enough to tell the story. More importantly, I had rebuilt myself. I found a new way to honor my parents' legacy, not just in bricks and mortar, but in the stories I told my children, in the values I upheld. Mara's malice had shattered much, but it could not erase our truth. I knew then, with a bittersweet peace, that memory would prevail, and my parents' love, in its own way, would always endure, a quiet triumph.